Once we know how to find the slope given 2 points, the slope and one of the given points will help us to actually write the equation of the line. So again, we need to start with slope. Change in y values here is 5 minus 13. Denominators would be -2 minus a -6. So we end up with -8, and the denominator is 4. So when we simplify -8/4, the slope is -2. Now it doesn't matter which of the ordered pairs you choose to write the equation of your line, because both of those points are on the line. So I'm just going to go with the first ordered pair that's given, -2, 5. So if I have -2, 5, remember that -2 is the x value, 5 is the y value. So we're going to be using y equals mx plus b to help us write our linear equation. Since we know what the slope is, in other words, we know m is -2, we know x is -2, and we know y is 5, we can substitute those three values into our linear equation and solve for b, which represents our y-intercept. So I end up with 5 equals slope of -2 times x value of -2 plus b. So notice we only have the one variable remaining. 5 now equals 4 plus b. Use your properties of equality now to isolate b. We'll be subtracting 4, so that leaves us 1 equals b. Since we know the y-intercept and we know the slope of the line, we should be able to write the equation of the line. So thinking y equals mx plus b, y will equal slope of -2 times x plus 1. And now we have the equation of our line. In example 2, again, we need to start by finding the slope of the line. So we'll take the y values, -8 minus -9, divided by the change in the x values, -3 minus -6. So our slope is going to become, let's see, 1 divided by 3. So we have a slope of 1/3. And if I just go with that first value, first ordered pair, x is worth -3 and y is worth -8. So using y equals mx plus b, I make the necessary substitutions. -8 equals slope of 1/3 times x value of -3 plus b. Well, this is sort of nice because 3 and -3 reduce. So I have -8 equals 1 times that negative is -1 plus b. Adding 1 to both sides of the equation results in -7 equals b. So our y-intercept is -7 and our slope is 1/3. So all we have to do is make the necessary substitutions into y equals mx plus b. Y equals 1/3 x minus 7. So we are not writing plus -7. We're simplifying that. Adding a negative number is the same as subtraction. So make sure you're writing that correct. For example 3, we don't have 2 points given. However, we are told what the slope is and one of the points that goes on the line. So we have our x value of -2, y value +3, and m equals 2. So we can go directly to y equals mx plus b and make the substitutions. 3 would equal the slope of 2 times -2 for the x value plus b. 3 is equal to negative 4 plus b. When I add 4 to both sides of the equation, we get 7 equals b. So the y-intercept is 7. The slope is 2. So when we write the equation with a line, y equals slope of 2 times x plus 7, which is the y-intercept. In example 4, we know m, or slope, is negative 3/5. We have x value of 4 and y value of negative 1. Making our substitutions, negative 1 equals negative 3/5 times the x value of 4 plus b. Now this one doesn't have the convenience of 5 reducing with 4. So we'll have to just go ahead and multiply that out. Negative 1 equals, if it helps, 4 is the same as 4 over 1. So the numerators are negative 12, denominator 5 times 1 would make 5 plus b. So this looks a bit awkward, but that's okay. We'll be able to work with it. We want to add 12/5 to both sides of the equation so that we can solve for b. However, when I add 12/5 to both sides, I don't have terms that have a common denominator. So we need to think of another way to write negative 1 so that its equivalent fraction will have 5 in the denominator. So thinking of negative 1 as a fraction, negative 1 over 1, do you see what number you would have to multiply the numerator and denominator by to get 5 in the denominator? If we multiply both the numerator and denominator by 5, we are building it up with the same factor, so we can make an equivalent fraction, and that would be negative 5/5. So now we can go ahead and combine these fractions that have a common denominator. Negative 5/5, positive 12/5. And that's going to give us positive 7/5 for the y-intercept. So now we're ready to write our equation. Y equals slope of minus 3/5 x, and then include the y-intercept, positive 7/5 plus 7/5. Sometimes we have to put a little more effort into solving for b, especially when we don't have common denominators. But we can always build up with some common factor to create a term written that has a common factor. Here are a few more examples of writing linear equations. We have a slope of 0, and the line goes through -2, -9. So m is 0, x is -2, y is -9. Since we have numerical values for the slope, the x, and the y, we can do our substitutions. So using y equals mx plus b, we have -9 equals 0 times -2 plus b. And notice 0 times -2 will be eliminated, so -9 is the y-intercept. Slope, we knew, was 0. So the equation of the line, y equals slope of 0 times x minus the y-intercept. Now this looks a bit awkward. We typically would not write this as the final form of our linear equation because 0 times x is 0. Therefore, it eliminates from the problem, and we simply have y equals -9. So this is one of our special cases where x does not appear in the linear equation because this is going to be a horizontal line. Remember, when the slope is 0, you have a horizontal line. Now the shortcut way to actually write this equation without having to go through all that calculation is to remember that with a horizontal line, every y value must be the same, because just imagine what the horizontal line looks like. Here it is. And so that's going to go through the y-axis in such a way that every y value is exactly the same. The y value we have is -9. So look at the answer, y equals -9. We could have just started with that. In our other example, the slope is undefined. So I don't have a number that represents that slope. So what we should recall is that an undefined slope is a vertical line. And the x value names the line. That means every x value should be 3 because our line goes through 3, 1. So no matter what the x value is in the given point, that x value is what names the line. So we have a vertical line such that every single point on that line will be +3.